The occupation is illegal because it is not in self-defense, which is the only justification for a military occupation, but it's for the purpose of colonization. Israel is there for the Palestinians' land, and everybody knows this. Now, colonization is not only contrary to the Geneva Conventions, it's a war crime. In Canada, look it up in our Crimes Against Humanity and War Crimes Act of 2000. Anywhere in the world the crime of colonization is committed, we have jurisdiction to punish it here. That's why the International Court of Justice, remember the International Court of Justice, its decision of 2004, condemned as illegal not only Israel's separation wall, which cuts deeply through the Palestinian territory, including in East Jerusalem, it cuts right through Palestinian towns and villages, but it also condemned every settlement 1 inch over the 1967 borders. And this was a unanimous decision of the International Court of Justice. The withdrawal from Gaza by the Sharon government in 2005 after it killed off the Hamas leadership, that doesn't change it one bit, legally or morally. And that's not only because Israel solemnly declared in the Oslo Accords that the West Bank and Gaza were, and I'm quoting, the West Bank and Gaza were, quote, a single territorial unit, the integrity and status of which will be preserved during the interim period. 1 unit. And of course, the withdrawal from Gaza went hand in hand with strengthening the occupation in the West Bank. West Bank Hamas legislators are still in Israeli jails, along with about 8,000 Palestinians. While, speaking about proportion, Israel holds 1 Israeli soldier. Hamas holds 1 Israeli soldier. 1 Israeli soldier. Shalit is held in the West Bank. 8,001. Another case of disproportion. But the deep reason why the withdrawal from Gaza does not affect the aggression of Israel is because the people of Gaza and the people of West Bank are one people. It's not only 1 territory legally, it's 1 people. It's like, imagine, I was thinking, how can we understand this? If a foreign force occupied Toronto and we resisted, aggressively occupied Toronto, we resisted, and because of this resistance they were forced to withdraw from North York. And we in North York continued the resistance to help our brothers and sisters, literally our brothers and sisters in downtown Toronto, and they called us the aggressors. How absurd that would be. An aggressor has no right to self-defense. But Israel, of course, didn't just withdraw from Gaza. It besieged it and it blockaded it. And a blockade is not only a humanitarian atrocity, it's an act of war. And that's what Israel called it when Egypt threatened to blockade the Straits of Tiran in 1967. And Israel didn't have to try to smuggle in the basic essentials of life. I heard Anna Maria Tremonti the other day saying, why didn't you smuggle in food instead of smuggling in weapons? Of course they did. You saw them smuggling goats through these tunnels. But imagine if our border was blockaded by the United States, what the conditions would be if we had to smuggle in our food through tunnels. So this was a blockade and a siege and an aggression against the entire Palestinian people. And that's what these missiles, these primitive and ineffective missiles are about. And what was the blockade based? And what is the attack based on? It's based explicitly on the fact that Israel cannot abide Hamas in government in Gaza. Tzipi Livni said it clearly. There could be no truce because that would not allow the missiles to continue, but would legitimize Hamas. That's what she said. Even though Hamas is an elected government of the entire Palestinian Authority. Remember that, entire West Bank and Gaza. In an election that was declared fair and free and legal and appropriate by every international observer, that was encouraged by Israel, and Hamas won it, and they're the elected government. So how do you defend killing all these people to overthrow, cripple, delegitimize a legitimate elected government? Well, Israel gives 2 reasons that we're all familiar with by now. One is Hamas is a terrorist organization. Now among all these doctors, I'm a lawyer, and according to all the legal definitions of terrorist that I'm aware of, terrorists are those who deliberately kill civilians for illegal political ends. In this case, the Israelis, not to mention the Americans, have deliberately killed 10 times as many civilians as Hamas has killed, illegally and for political ends. The second reason that Israel can try to overthrow at this cost unelected government is they say because Hamas doesn't recognize Israel's right to exist. Of course, it's willing to make peace with Israel in the sense of a long-term truce, stop the rockets, if you will. It offered this immediately upon being elected in 2006. It offered it all over the place, every interview, every newspaper. It said, we want a truce with Israel. But Israel says that's not good enough. Israel insists that Hamas recognize Israel's right to exist in the sense of its moral legitimacy. As a Jewish state that has displaced millions of Palestinians. In other words, this is what one Israeli journalist said half-jokingly, Israel won't make peace with Hamas until Hamas converts to Zionism. With nothing in return. Now, it's not that that's impossible, it's preposterous. You can't believe that Israel is sincere about it. And I think, in my opinion, it just shows that Israel doesn't want peace, it wants the land. They demonized Arafat, they toyed with Abbas, and now they're seeking to marginalize and overthrow Hamas, all to avoid the Palestinians realizing their legal, moral right to self-determination. I want to close by asking us to imagine how different the world would be if the Palestinians were recognized as equal human beings. Not superior, just equal. With a merely equal right to self-determination and self-defense. How different the mass media's reporting would be. One other Israeli journalist once wrote that Israel, with all its might, is asking for pity, but the Palestinians are just asking for justice and their legal rights under international law. Thank you.